Razor on Instagram. My man Razor, dude. I met him at the Ohio Craft Brewers Conference. Good time, good dude. And Todd Porter on YouTube. I'm gonna smush these two questions together, and we're gonna get to the bottom of it. Razor asked tips on canning beer, especially IPAs. And then Todd Porter asked, "What secrets do you have if you have them?" Oh, I have secrets. I have secrets, Todd Porter. I have secrets. For bottling, what secrets do you have for bottling a New England style IPA for a homebrew competition? Can you keep it from going full purple in the 2 to 3 weeks it's mailed and waiting to be judged? Yeah, good question. We have a couple of these questions tonight that are going to be a little bit of process questions. So we're talking about oxidation for New England style IPA and IPA, so hot forward beers, and then also this idea of I'm bottling or canning and I'm sending this beer off to competition. So first of all, you need to the number one thing is we're talking about oxygen here. Okay, oxygen is the problem, the primary problem. And what you need to track it maybe sooner than when you thought you should. Okay, because there's many opportunities for oxidation, and we're just going to stick to the cold side. Everyone, we're not going to get into the HSA, the hot side aeration debate, because I've heard a lot of smart people say a lot of smart things about both sides of that. So we're not going to be dipping into HSA, hot side aeration. Maybe I will do a thing on it at some point. But we're going to talk specifically once your wort is cool and you have yeast pitched and you want oxygen in there up front for appropriate cell growth and everything like that. Once oxygen, kind of the rule of thumb is that once alcoholic fermentation has started, once you're past growth phase with your yeast, you do not want oxygen coming into contact with your beer. Now, at that point, you have CO2 being expressed out of whatever your fermentation vessel is and then out into the atmosphere. You want that to be sealed up, whether it be with an airlock or a bubbler or whatever, you know what I mean, a blow off line of some measure. And then this is when problems can start popping up. So, kind of the first place that you can get some oxygenation is during dry hop. So, if you're opening up your vessel, dumping hops in, depending on what your vessel is, if you're fermenting in a plastic bucket, you have oxygen ingress constantly because that plastic bucket is oxygen permeable. Okay. Glass is less so. I used to ferment in glass eons ago on the home level, but you know darn well that I had oxygen slipping in between that carboy cap that I would use on there. You better believe, baby. There was stuff coming out and there was stuff leaking in there or seeping in, ingress into that cold side beer that you have going on, especially post fermentation when you're just letting it sit there and chill. So those are the clear ones. On the pro side, it's a little bit easier because our tanks and vessels are actually meant to make beer with. We can purge tanks and everything like that. And we talk about it in earlier episodes. I've talked about different options for purging, both with fancy equipment and without fancy equipment. So, yeah, I mean, there's all those typical things. Now let's start talking about some things that you may not think of. Let's talk about your sanitizer that you're sanitizing your bright tank with and that you're sanitizing your transfer lines with. And this can go on the homebrew side as well. I don't see it used as much on that side, but if you are using an oxidizing sanitizer, yeah, boy. What if it's not? What if that sanitizer isn't fully flushed from your vessel? What if it's not fully flushed from your transfer lines? I was listening to a tremendous interview. They did a follow-up interview on craft beer and brewing. If you have not gone and listened to the Craft Beer and Brewing podcast with Vinny Cialurzo, and we're going to say it's all right, because some guy from Green Cheek, sorry, I don't know your name, and then Kelsey McNair from where I don't know where, but great content in there. And they were talking about oxidizing IPA, and they were talking about where one of the things they love to be able to use and think about doing this, if you are on the pro side and you have some extra tank space, you can use a tank as a bright tank. You can boil some water, put CO2 through your oxygen stone that you would normally be oxygenating with, run that into a purged bright tank or a purged unitank, run it, keep it cold, and then burn some CO2 through there through a carb stone to further strip any potential oxygen out. And then you now have deoxygenated water. They will use sterile deoxygenated water to flush PAA out of lines before transferring beers through. And especially having benefit with these hoppy beers that where those hop compounds are so susceptible to oxygenization. Is that a word? I didn't feel like that was a word. Oxygenization. Oh, I'm gonna. If it wasn't right, I'm gonna listen to it later, and I'm going to know it. But that's the idea. So that's a big one. If you have an oxidizing sanitizer, make sure that you're putting pressure on your vessel, on your bright tank, and then blowing out those lower ports so you can get all that stuff out of there. You want all that oxidizing sanitizer out of there. You want to be purging tanks well. Check out videos before that I have done on the subject. Yeah, I mean that's kind of the big one for me there. Now, when we also talk about packaging, because they're talking about packaging this is a tough one. What I would try doing is if you are packaging beer on a homebrew scale to send away to competition, or if you are packaging beer for a pro competition, I will take a brute tub, one of the big wide brute tubs, the big rectangle ones. They're about, I don't know, 18 inches deep, maybe. And that's what I usually wash smalls in. And then I hold my iodine sanitizer in there throughout the course of the day. I do that. And then oh golly, what was I? Oh, what I'll do is I'll drop a CO2 line into the bottom of that, and I will have a slow bleed of CO2 filling that brute tub. I'm well above it. Okay, I'm not putting my face down in there, but I will purge and fill using at my place. Hey, no lie, it's easy. It's easy when it's true. I will fill with the Blickman beer gun when we're hand canning those things or hand bottling those things, and I will actually fill that in the can or in the bottle that is in this vessel that is essentially purged. That might sound a little bit crazy, but if you are going for a competition scenario, that might be something that might be worth it. It's worth it for me. I do it. So, yeah, that's one thing you can do specifically for that. But the problem is when you're shipping, those things are going to get beat up. You're going to have lots of temperature shift. It's going to be really hard, and you're going to have oxygen ingress underneath that lid, underneath that cap. For sure. And if your seams aren't on point, you might have some oxygen ingresses there as well. So just something to check out on that side. Kind of think about a big picture like that, fellas, and let me know if that stuff helps with creating some fresher, longer IPA in canned bottles.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you feel as if you got any value out of the video, please like and subscribe. There are also other videos that you can watch. They're gonna maybe be over here or over here. Appreciate you watching.